I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated. I'm I'm feeling anxious. I can't think clearly. I don't know what to do about this issue. I have to handle it, and I have to handle it soon. Hello, folks. Today we're talking about the wise mind. How to not freak out. Actually, how to not freak out, regulate your emotions, and use logic and feelings to really solve a problem. First up, what is the wise mind? Well, the wise mind is the combination using, if you will, the emotional mind, the right brain, where we have feelings, moods, emotions, and being aware that we really can't get into the left brain, the logical mind, unless we regulate the right brain. We then are freed up to move into the logical brain, the left brain, to solve problems. We have to use both. There's no way to escape it. So a quick review here, the emotional mind, the right brain, that's where moods, feelings, emotions, our mindset, and of course emotional regulation is handled. The left brain is where we have the objective view. We deal with logic, data, facts. We work in sequential order to solve problems. That's where the planning comes about. The problem is that when we have a problem, we get hit with, well, pretty much what you saw or heard or felt in that opening of this video. We're overwhelmed. We have a flood of different feelings and emotions, everything from frustration to anxiety and more. Last time I checked, the research pointed to there are over 500 emotions that a person can experience. So we get hung up, like I did in the beginning of this video, where we're just spinning our wheels. That's normal. So if you're thinking, well, I don't want to do that, how do I stop? Well, we really don't want to stop that. The limbic system, the fight or flight system, is built on the emotional brain, the right brain, picking up on a series of different stimulus showing up as a threat, an issue. It's a detection mechanism that right brain gives us. And again, we get signals, judgments, feelings, moods, emotions, that sort of thing. And that tells us that we have a problem, we have a threat. And that's the first thing that happens in the human condition. There's no way to escape it. In fact, as I tell audience members sometimes when they say, how do I stop those feelings from surfacing? How do I stop from that fight or flight from happening? I always say you don't want to, because you won't last very long on the planet if you get rid of that. The key to success in handling a problem and in tackling an issue and in getting through something is, first of all, not trying to white knuckle the right brain. And the research is pretty conclusive on this. The neuroscientists, the psychiatrists and psychologists that study the right brain and the emotions and the threat detection mechanism tell us that if we resist it, it will persist. They say what we resist will persist, meaning if we try to ignore how we feel. Think about the last time you had a really strong emotion, a disgust, overwhelming anxiety or anger. It was very hard to ignore that, right? You just couldn't take the edge off of that, if you will. And so what the neuroscientists tell us is to regulate the right brain before trying to get into the left brain. Inside of emotional intelligence, self-regulation is part of it. Self-awareness is where it starts. Self-regulation is where we go from there. So once through self-awareness, I'm aware of what I'm feeling, I can do a variety of things to regulate that feeling. I can take some deep breaths. I can do a labeling, or what is also known as name-it-to-tame-it, where I simply acknowledge inside my own brain, acknowledge that emotion or feeling as a way to set it aside. And that's a good way to think about it, and that's also very helpful. It's not just a kind of a cursory or some sort of just transactional move that we make. Actually labeling it or having some form of regulation over those feelings is key, because that allows us to get into the logical mind and start thinking again objectively. What's the root cause? Is this a fixable or directional problem, as I spoke about in the last video in this series? What data do I have to support the root cause? Once I find the root cause and I realize that the problem is, for example, fixable, what are the facts that I'm going to use to solve this problem, and what sequence am I going to roll them out in? So you can see why when we get our brains hijacked, our amygdala gets overwhelmed with feelings and emotions that are unregulated, we can't think clearly. We can't see clearly about what's going on. Once the right brain is regulated, then we're free to go into the left brain. But as you're probably thinking, and some of you already know this to be true, as soon as we start dealing with the root cause or putting a plan together, we all of a sudden get hit with obstacles and barriers and friction and objections to how that's going to work to solve the problem. And guess, that's right, we end up back in the right brain, which is why I wanted to share with you the wise mind, because the wise mind is actually using both. I call it the dance between the emotional brain, the right brain, and the left brain. It's also sometimes referred to as a process of rinsing and repeating. In other words, regulating the right brain to get us into being objective. Once we realize that we've got some friction, we've got some barriers, we're going to have feelings surface. This is normal. Go back into the right brain, regulate those, and then you're free again to move into the left brain. It is a dance. It is just as the graphic shows here. It's back and forth as we solve problems. So it's not a one and done in either one of these departments. It's a rinse and repeat. It's being aware, hey, I've got this feeling. Once regulated, look at that. I'm free. I'm thinking clearly, objectively about the facts, the data, the sequence. We've hit a roadblock. Guess what? I'm feeling anxious again. Regulate that. Guess what? Back into the left brain. And so it goes. So the next time you get hit with a problem, recognize, I have a problem. How do I feel about it? Regulate the feeling, and then see just how easy it is, or how much easier it is, to go into that logical mind to start solving the problem. Be aware, though, through self-awareness, that once I start to solve the problem and we start to implement or deploy or come up with a plan, we might have other emotions surface. Head back over into the right brain to regulate those and rinse and repeat. As I always say, folks, take care of yourself so you can take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next video.